My family and I came to the United States in 1979 as refugees from the former Soviet Union. We were refugees and we lived in Italy for a little while until America allowed us to come here. And life was difficult at first. None of us spoke English. I started school right away as a 7-year-old, not knowing how to talk to my classmates. One of the first memories I remember was my pencil breaking on the first day of class and not being able to ask anybody around me how to fix the pencil and get a pencil sharpener. My father, who was an engineer, took odd jobs working as a coat checker for our first Christmas at someone else's Christmas party. And life was certainly difficult. One of the first toys I ever got was one of those vibrating football games that they had back then. It would just be a machine that vibrated. I didn't know anything about football, but my father found that game. Somebody else had thrown it away, he fixed it up, and that was one of the first toys I had. Our first TV was also a television that he had found on the streets, and he was able to fix that, and that was our first television. And I mention that because I think it's very important. I'm very proud of that because it made me the person who I am. It made me appreciate the difficulties that people like immigrants face in life, and the difficulties that everybody faces at some point or another, and how to live through those difficulties and still succeed. My mother went back to school in America and became a nurse. My father's English improved and he got better jobs. So at first we lived in Erie, Pennsylvania, which was a great place to live, but very cold for my parents, even coming from the Ukraine. And so my parents decided to move to Houston, Texas, where there were a lot of jobs at that point in time because of the oil industry, and my father became an engineer in the oil industry and got a better job. I went to school, and then graduating from high school, I went to university and University of Texas in Austin, and went to law school there as well. And like many immigrant families, my parents wanted me to study hard, to work hard and to succeed. And being a lawyer was one of those ways. And I also felt that being a lawyer helps you to understand how things work in America and help you be able to use all the various levers that there are to succeed, whether it be in business or as a lawyer. So I worked as a lawyer for several years, and then I got a job after a while, after litigating at a law firm. I got a job with the U.S. government where I worked for a judge. And that was my first interaction with working for administrative law judges. So at that point in time, that's what I wanted to do. And so I worked and I succeeded and got promotions with that and became an advisor with the federal government for Medicare issues, became a senior attorney and a supervisory attorney. And then I applied to be an administrative law judge with the federal government as well. Around that time, my father came down with cancer, with esophageal cancer. It was very severe. And he told me that before he passed away, he wanted to see me become a judge, which was a very difficult thing because these jobs are very hard to come by. And so a lot of pressure there, but I did my best. I took the exams, I did the interviews. And one of the proudest moments in my life was to tell my father before he passed away, which he did a few years ago, that I became a judge. And just to see the expression on his face and the expression, even tears me up at this point even, but the expression on my parents' face that they came here to seek a better life. And to actually accomplish that was very important. I came to Portland and fell in love with the city. I remember one of the first things that I saw here was in Pioneer Square. There was a band playing and people were out having lunch, enjoying the music. And I just enjoyed the vibrancy of the city. It really drew me to the area and made me want to move here. And so when I came here, I realized this was a place to call home. I loved the vibrancy of the city. I loved how people were always out and about, walking around and enjoying what it had to offer. I enjoyed the art scene, the music scene, and just generally how walkable the city was. So when I moved here, I decided to settle down and call this my home. And part of that, for me at least, was to be involved civically. Because of how much I enjoy the area, I wanted to participate and make sure that it was a place that we could all enjoy. So I joined several organizations in order to participate in how our city was run. The first one that I became a member of was the Portland Commission on Disability. Having worked in disability law, I feel it was something that I could offer back to the community. And so in my time there, we had some successes. I worked on Project Search and was on the steering committee for Project Search to help individuals with developmental delays find jobs with the city of Portland. And we had several people who went through the program, became interns with the city of Portland, and were actually hired on to work for the city as a result of that program. I also remember a time when I brought various individuals from the Portland community, people who were experiencing disabilities, people who were working in the nonprofit industry, and our elected officials. And I made an event over in City Hall to celebrate October, which is the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So we brought city commissioners and people working in the area to celebrate all the successes, but also to look forward to a future where it was more inclusive for people with disabilities, and to work together to establish that future. Since then, I've been appointed by City Council to be on the Portland Commission on Community Engaged Policing to bridge the gaps between the police and the community and provide input on those things. So I've also been appointed to the Citizen Review Committee, which hears complaints against the Police Bureau and also investigates use of force. And so over that time, I've learned a lot about public safety and how the Portland community responds to the needs of the community and how the police respond to that as well. And part of that, I've tried to do what I can to improve policing, which is improve the training for the police and also hire additional what's called public safety support specialists. So in order to have an unarmed response so that there's not always an armed police officer to events that might not need an armed individual, to make sure that there's not a possibility of a higher level of police response than is necessary. And we've had success. The Portland City Council did approve additional public safety support specialists in the new budget, and those people are being hired. So reacting to community needs is one of those successes.